It's the moment you didn't know you're waiting for.
He is Carter.
He's Chad.
And this is the Irish 365 podcast.
Welcome into the Irish 365 Pitt game preview. A little different tonight, Jordan. It's you and I.
I know. Big week. Brought me in.
Yeah, full disclosure, Carter was on this podcast in take one. Someone had some technical difficulties and got a great video and no audio, so we're going to reshoot the podcast. Carter's phone died, so he can't rejoin us, so he's missing out on the fun. Great conversation, so we're going to relive it because it was so fun. We're going to do it a second time. We're going to call this Irish 365 After Dark.
Exactly.
There was a time when it was you and I talked Notre Dame football. Carter didn't exist, so it's old school.
Exactly. Pretend it's late 90s.
Yeah, and I'm here in the studio, and Carter was doing it remote from home, and you're obviously in your home in Carolina, and it's just like last year we didn't have heat in the studio, and in Indiana it's been cold, like down in the 30s at night. I was having to go into like Studio B. We got a little area that's kind of a set up a man cave that does have heat, but it's not really the studio. And I put heat in the studio this summer, like in some free time I had, I put some heat in the studio, and it's like cooling and heat. And it's like, this is nice.
Oh, that's nice.
This is nice. I'm out here and it's like, I got a hoodie on. I might be a little too warm, but hey, no complaints. No complaints. Life is good. So anyway, we got Pitt coming up this week, and I know you're a huge fan of Mr. Narduzzi.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Pat with his dumb, cut off short sleeve dress shirts where he wears a tie. It's terrible. I feel like, and I saw a picture because he does like a weekly podcast, and that was the picture of him on that. I'm like, could you have a more terrible look? It just makes me want to once again give him a nice punch.
It was like the Purdue social media before the start of the season where they were showing video of receivers dropping passes. It's like, is that the best you could come with 30 seconds you come up with in 2 hours of video? Again,
exactly.
Irish 365 is not here to give fashion advice, at least not this guy. If Maddie was on here, she could give you all the fit advice. I'm not the guy. But if it's short sleeve, you don't wear a tie. That's the rule.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then he made some, I don't know, I think it was some comments he made where he was trying to maybe I thought he was trying to rally his team with the comments that this game isn't a must-win game. It doesn't matter if they lose 110-10. And I thought, is he just trying to lull Notre Dame to sleep? And it's kind of this old Lou Holtz thing where, we're terrible, we can't win. That was the way it went. And by Sunday, I knew we were going to win the whole time kind of a thing. And I thought that's the way he was going, but I don't think it was. I just think it was misspeak or unprepared to speak.
He was just speaking off the cuff, like, true from the heart. That he was like, hey, I'm not really focused on this one. We're focused on the other ACC games. And, if we lose by a lot, oh well.
Who cares? And that's not the message I think a coach wants to send into the team to any game. Like, I've coached a lot of rec soccer, rec football, rec sports. Even when I knew the other team was a whole lot better than me, I never once let my team think we couldn't win. That was never a thought in my head. So this guy's getting paid a lot more than I ever got paid to coach. So I don't get it. And then he doubled down. I saw on X today where he's like, well, if it's a must-win game, if you want to say that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you clearly weren't coach speaking. You were trying to back that. Like, that was terrible. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So it'll be interesting. And I think we talked about it in the season preview as we went through the opponents. We talked about Narduzzi and how they started off 7-0 last year and then finished 7-6. And we predicted a 7-5 season for them this year. And here they are at 7-2. They've got Notre Dame, they've got Miami, they got Georgia Tech. 7-5 is a real possibility for them.
Absolutely, because if Notre Dame is able to, go in there in a hostile environment, which I think is going to be early, and get a win, then they could easily lose the next two games after this. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could see a scenario where losing this game, the team gives up on the coach a little bit, and then they turn around and lose to Miami, which I think Miami's a winnable game for them.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia Tech's a winnable game for them, but I also could see the collapse. I mean, I think the Notre Dame game is winnable, but it's probably, I don't know, a little more of a stretch of a win. I predict they're going to lose the next 3, but I think they could win the next 3 as well. I'm not going to say there's no way they could win the next 3. So, it'll be interesting to see how they do or what they do if they do over the next 3 weeks. And I think that kind of sets up the whole college football landscape, which we can talk about maybe after we break down Pitt a little bit. Because what do you like about Pitt coming into this game? If you're a Pitt fan, what are you excited about?
So I think for them, they started off the season 2-2, and then they made a quarterback change when they played against Boston College, and that's kind of really energized them. They throw the ball really well. I had a few numbers down here. They are 11th in points per game, and 30th in yards per game, and a lot of that is behind their quarterback, Mason Heinschel. I'm just going to call him Mason because I'm not going to be able to get that last name out.
I'm with you.
He's had several big games since he's taken over. He can turn the ball over, but I watched the NC State game and he threw for 423 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and that's really what they got playmakers on the outside as receivers. So I think what they're going to do is try to move the ball and just put up points. But their defense is good, kind of like when we talked about at the beginning of the season. You said, where are we strong at? Our offensive line and our defense. And then it kind of flipped. And I think it's kind of the same for them. They thought their defense was going to be really good, which they still are statistically ranked high, but still they've been giving up a decent amount of points too, which has been interesting to see against teams like Stanford and NC State and things like that. So if I'm a Pitt fan, I'm saying we're going to throw the ball and try to put up points and stop the run for Notre Dame. So
yeah, and I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, we talk about like Notre Dame didn't play well the first couple of games, not as well as we're playing now. And we can talk about, there was that bandwagon of Chris Ash needs to be fired, and 3 games in, I was on that bandwagon, and I've cooled on that talk a little bit. Like, okay, yeah, Al Golden struggled a little bit too, because I remember cover 0 against Ohio State.
Yeah,
and the Pitt fans, like, they know their defense has been decent, but it's underperformed, but they've not been healthy. And I think they think like, oh, now we're getting healthy and they're feeling really good coming into this game. Because if you look at social, the Pitt fans they've been chirping. Their confidence is high. Much higher than Narduzzi's confidence has been, that's for sure. So I think that's kind of interesting, but I also go back and I think, okay, well, if you're Pitt, you probably haven't watched any Notre Dame this year unless you watched Game 1 against Miami, because it's an ACC game. It was that Sunday night, Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend. Like, it was the only game on. It was. If you're a football person, that was your game. And our defense looked terrible. Our offensive line looked terrible. Like, our running game just didn't produce because the RPO was all bubble pass. Like, CJ Carr played well, but he made some bad decisions. He didn't play terrible, just made bad decisions. And he's playing so much better now. So
yeah, he's so much more comfortable.
Yeah, if you're Pitt, you're thinking this Notre Dame team's beatable. And I get, like, if you haven't watched us since Miami, why you would think that. You've seen box score, maybe, but you really don't appreciate like how good we've gotten, how much better we've gotten since then. So I get that sense of security and confidence coming out of the Pitt base. I'm just not so sure they understand what's coming in. They think they can stop the run. I think our running game is much better than anything else they face this year so far at Pitt.
They've not seen a back like Jeremiah Love yet.
Yeah, I mean,
or Price,
yeah. And I will go as far as to say Aeneas Williams is probably a better back than what they've seen.
Absolutely.
And and that guy looked phenomenal last year. And just because Snyder's come in and he's kind of changed the rotation, Williams isn't getting as much carries. He's kind of like, he's really good. So yeah, I think that kind of all plays into it and all makes it kind of interesting. And I think it gives that false sense of security to Pitt. The other side of it is Notre Dame, usually when we play Pitt, we're looking past Pitt. And usually when we struggle with Pitt, it's because there's a USC game coming up on the horizon, and it's a big USC game. Well, now when we look past Pitt, what do we got to look forward to? Syracuse, Stanford. And this isn't Andrew Luck Stanford. Andrew Luck is at Stanford, but not quarterbacking. He's general managing. So, and Syracuse was much more of a challenge when Steve Angeli was the starting quarterback. They've fallen back a little bit. So, we're not looking past this. I mean, this is college game day, noon kickoff, prime game on ABC. We're the game at noon.
Yeah.
And this is our last chance to make a statement to the CFP with a ranked team. Jeremiah Love is going to have all the Heisman talk on him, and there's going to be hype for his Heisman campaign on the ESPN. They're going to do special on him and talk about him, how he's borderline autistic or he's low on the spectrum or whatever way you want to put that, and kind of there's so much to talk about him. Let alone just every time you turn around, he's a human highlight. So I think we're going to come in focused. Now the only fear I have is it seems like sometimes Denbrock likes to highlight or key players. And it just seems this year when he's tried to highlight or key, Jeremiah Love, it's worked out worse instead of better. It feels like when Jeremiah Love is just part of the game plan, it's just natural. He does amazing things. When we try and force the situation, it feels like he struggles a little bit. So if there's anything that worries me about it, it's not Pitt being so good. It's us forcing a bad situation early in the game. So.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see, because I completely agree with that point. Like, there's definitely times where the offense just feels stagnant because the plays are being forced. That's why I really liked last week with the Navy game, just to see Love kind of get out in the passing game. They did a good job of getting him out, getting him the ball in space, and letting him make plays. And I'd like to see that again, because I think that they'll have an opportunity to throw the ball and use Jeremiah Love in that sense too. And like you said, there's going to be a lot of eyes on him, and hopefully he can kind of go out and show to make a push for him for his Heisman campaign.
Yeah, I mean, when it just happens in the course of the game, I feel like he's dynamic, and he's got oodles of just days of YouTube, Instagram, and social media clips of 20, 30 seconds of just something amazing, hurdling, jumping, knocking somebody over. I mean, pass pro like a stud. I mean, the fall spin, get up and run away from the Navy guys. I mean, it's Navy. Yes, they should have wrapped up, but the fact that he was able to keep his balance, keep that play, keep it going, says a lot about him. And again, it's just another highlight play for him. So if we don't try and force it, we let it happen naturally, he will do amazing things. And I think I'm excited to see that. And I think that'll make it difficult for Pitt, because coming into this game, what are we talking? I think the point total, the over-under is 53.5, and I think Notre Dame's 12.5 point favorites.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's interesting, that 12.5, because I did see that, they were talked about after, obviously, the A&M game. Notre Dame has won, I think, every game by double digits. Which maybe isn't surprising based on who we've kind of played, but still, even the game with Boston College where we were a little stagnant and it was still close. I mean, they still ended up winning by double digits. So that kind of, I wouldn't say it surprised me that they were 12.5 point favorites against a good Pitt team, but that's a big number, I think.
Yeah,
if you're looking to bet that.
Yeah. See, I think it is coming in, but I feel like Notre Dame can hit that number, and twofold to this, right? One is Notre Dame has to score points, and they've got to pass the eyeball test to the committee. So there's an urgency. Winning the game like we did Boston College isn't enough. We need to win and win big. I think Boston College, we were looking past Boston College. We were looking at Navy. We were looking ahead to Pitt maybe. Like, we were looking past Boston College, and it caught up to us. We played sloppy. We didn't do well. We cleaned it up against Navy, 0 penalties, played much better. There's no doubt about it. This is our biggest game left on the schedule. There is no looking past it. We've got to play well. So I think my gut initially was lower scoring, not covering the spread, and then I kind of talked myself out of that. So let's talk real quick. We'll talk keys to the game from Notre Dame, keys to the game for Pitt, and then we'll hit score predictions. And I'll try and remember what Carter's score prediction was. I'll get it somewhat close. So keys to the game defensively for Pitt. What are they going to try and do? What's your take?
So I think they're going to try to stop the run. Statistically, they're because I wrote down here they're 27th against the run, but they're 101st against the pass, and so their secondary doesn't. They got their secondary doesn't really scare us. I think they're going to try to stop the run and make CJ Carr beat them. But you know what? Like, I think we're comfortable with that because we know CJ can make plays. I mean, look at Fields, look at Pauling, Reardon.
Face on.
Face on. Like, we have so many guys that are stepping up in the passing game that, if you're just going to let CJ try to beat you, I think he can do that pretty easily. And I just think that I don't know if they're going to try to sell out to beat the run, like if they're just going to, rush 4 and have a bunch of guys back, if they're going to try to that with their defense. So I'm interested to see kind of how they play it.
Yeah, I'm with you. They got great linebackers. Their front 7 has been pretty solid for them, actually. So I can see where this game plan strategy for them is. Yeah, let's see if we can stop the run, get some pressure on the quarterback, right? Let's see if we can make CJ uncomfortable in the pocket. I don't think they're thinking their corners are going to beat our receivers, but if CJ's got to throw the ball early and he's under duress, he might make a mistake. He still is a freshman quarterback. He's not playing like a freshman too much, but I can see that game plan for them, and I think that's their best shot, right? They're not going to stop. They're not going to say, we're going to let your running backs run wild and we're going to take our chance of stopping you from throwing on us. I think that's their plan. So offensively, if you're Pitt, your game plan's a little different. You're feeling really good about your freshman quarterback. And you're like, hey, he's good and he's mobile. And I think from that standpoint, they're kind of thinking like Notre Dame will go into that man and they'll will struggle a little bit, but that's when the quarterback can run, right? If we go to that man and our defensive backs turn their back to the quarterback and there's an opportunity, he can run so he can get some big chunk plays. But then they go back and they say what they know is we've seen Notre Dame play the zone terribly or almost no zone. I think that cover 0 that we played against Ohio State a few years ago might have been more effective than the zone we played against Miami. I mean,
oh God, yeah.
It just blows my mind. I still go back to the Miami catch in the end zone between 2 of our guys who are just like letting him catch the ball. Like, just challenge that, and that hell of a catch, but he doesn't catch it if he's just challenged. So I can see that like game plan. If I'm offensively, I'm thinking I'm going to use the legs of my quarterback. If Notre Dame is trying to run and they're trying to like go man coverage and they let my quarterback have opportunities to run, I'm going to have him run. I'm just going to try and encourage him to slide and not take unnecessary hits. Because if I've seen any tape of Jake Bowen, for some reason that name is hard for me. If I've seen any video of him or Kingston Viliasa like hitting people, I'm telling my quarterback, don't take unnecessary hits, but get those chunk runs when you can. And I think you can make the game competitive. I think Pitt should feel like they have a shot. And there's going to be all the hype in the world. The fans are going to be into it. The Pitt campus isn't that far from the Steeler Stadium, so it's not like they're going to be completely without that crew. So I think the hype's going to be there, and it's going to run. So,
and if they can keep like the early momentum, keep drives sustained, keep Notre Dame's defense out there, and they move the ball, like that's just going to give them more confidence as they go along. Like, I think they can't, they got to sustain drives because if they don't, then I think they're going to, because that's what Notre Dame's going to try to do is get them off the field on 3rd down. So,
okay. Yeah, I'm with you. So all that being said and done, here's how I guess we'll go into score predictions. I think Carter, when we asked him, his score prediction was, I want to say 41-21, 40. No,
I think
he didn't have him cover. He didn't have him cover. I think he was 30,
I think he had 35-24.
35-24. He didn't have him cover.
No.
And again, I think that feels kind of right. Like it feels kind of right that's a good score. What did you have?
I had 38-27. So that 38, I got us kicking a field goal. I'm trying to put good vibes on our kickers.
Yeah.
get the confidence up. So that's 11. That's still not covering. But I think that will be a decent decent score.
Yeah, and again, that kind of feels right to me. That's where I started at as I was thinking through this, and then ultimately, I had this pivot this afternoon where I'm like, I think it's going to be a tight game early. I 7-10 in early second quarter. Like it's going to be a close game. I feel like Notre Dame's going to probably score in the last 4 minutes of the game. Notre Dame's going to score in the first 4 minutes, last 4 minutes of the second half. They're going to score again in the first 4 minutes of the second half, and we're going to win that middle 8, and I think we're going to pull away a little bit. And so that's kind of where I'm getting the score up there, and I'm thinking Notre Dame's going to. I hate to say it, but 38-10 is kind of where I'm at. I think defensively we're going to give Pitt a lot more challenges than they expect. I expect a pick six to come and play. I think their quarterback's going to probably throw a ball. I think we're going to do enough to get pressure on him. I think we're going to be able to stop their run game. I think their defense is going to have a lot of energy coming in. I think they're going to carry that. But when the adrenaline settles down and the game gets real, and we've prodded and we've poked and we've tried to force it to Jeremiah Love, and then we've backed out of that and just let the natural happen, I think second half we kind of pull away. I don't think we're going to see Kenny Minchie in the second or in the third quarter, but I think we're going to pull away and we're going to have a fairly comfortable. I think it's going to be a little tight the first quarter and a half, and I think it's going to be fairly comfortable the entire second half. We're going to feel like, this game's ours. Just keep the foot on the pedal and go. So that's kind of how I see it playing out. We'll see. Hopefully I'm right and you guys aren't, but since I'm a little off kilter, you guys are probably closer to right. It's probably going to be a 35-38 game, and we're going to be a nail biter. And I was going to
because I definitely think about talking about maybe some older Pitt games. It's like talent-wise, I think Notre Dame is clearly the more talented team. They don't have a Larry Fitzgerald. They don't have a LaShawn McCoy. They don't have an Aaron Donald, who they're going to honor.
Retiring his jersey this weekend, right?
Yeah. So it's like we've gone into these games in the past where Pitt they've had really good talent. Not to say that they don't, but they just don't have any superstars. And I think Notre Dame should be able to make enough plays with the talent that we have. And we kind of joked about it, but the guys that have rested for Notre Dame off playing last week. So, having those guys fresh on defense should help too.
Yeah, Boubacar Traore was rested last week. He wasn't a good fit scheme-wise against Navy. I don't know how that is, but, Christian Gray has been banged up, and he's got rested. So, yeah, I think I don't think either one of those guys are setting out this week. I think we're going to be full strength, and I think that's going to play to us as well. Because Christian Gray will sometimes get baited into doing something silly, getting a little handsy, what have you. But when the back's against the wall, my man makes plays.
He makes plays, exactly. Yeah,
and I like
you take
that.
the good with the bad.
Yeah, because he makes big plays in big moments. So I hope he gets more consistent on the good side. But yeah, so I think that's kind of where I see it. So we need to talk about a contest here. So key to the game, I think, for us is Notre Dame being balanced. Notre Dame kind of controlling the line of scrimmage, and Pitt's going to want to stop us. So. And this is it. We talked about this. This is College Game Day. They're on campus. They're going to do a highlight piece on Jeremiah Love. They're going to talk about him. This is our last top 25 matchup of the year. It's going to be all about Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
It's so we were talking about what we're going to do for a contest. So here it is. If you want to win 2 tickets, or if you want to be in the drawing to win 2 tickets to Notre Dame versus Syracuse and get yourself an Irish 365 shirt, you've got to comment on this post on X. Total number of yards for Jeremiah Love in the game. Total yards.
Any yards.
So it can be running yards, passing yards, catching yards, kick return yards, whatever he does. Just how many yards is Jeremiah Love going to have? Total yards. Get it right. Get in the contest, and then we'll be announcing the winner of the 2 Syracuse tickets live on the podcast in the post game. So there you go. Good luck.
And wouldn't that be great if he ripped off 250 yards,
Total, yeah. Awesome. I could see that. But his yards per game has gone up week after week after week. He's having these big games. So would not surprise me to see Jeremiah Love do something extraordinary. And we talked about this. Carter and I have talked about this. I'll get your take on it. The Heisman Trophy has always been a stats position. And if you go back to like 50 years ago, you couldn't watch all the football games. All you could do was get the box score out of the paper.
Right.
So it was talking to other writers and hearing how great somebody was, and then seeing the box score in the paper. Then it became kind of this quarterback, award really the last, 20, 30 years. But now I think it's shifting, and at some point it's going to shift. It's going to come back to who has the oh wow Bo Jackson type clips on social media. And Jeremiah Love has to be leading a lot of guys in that category.
Absolutely, yeah.
Everybody, I think he's beyond the casual sports fans. Like, I think people who are casual sports fans know who he is, not just diehard football fans and not just Notre Dame fans. I think a lot of people know there's this guy, he leaps, he jumps, he runs over people. So I think we're getting into that we're going to be entering the era soon, if we're not there now, where people who can put together highlight clips on social media can go viral on X or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Those are going to be the people more likely to win Heisman trophies. It's not going to be about gaudy stats or necessarily quarterbacks. It's going to be about making big plays. And obviously, quarterbacks making good throws, big moments, big plays can obviously win. But, in the context of the game, all eyes are on you. Everybody's watching. But I think in the social media realm that we're going into, I think Jeremiah Love's got a really good shot to be that first guy to win it based on social media hype. I mean, I still see videos of him running against, Penn State in the Orange Bowl last year. And like, do people understand that's not this year's season? It shouldn't count toward this year's Heisman vote. But yet, it might sway someone's opinion on whether they vote for him in the Heisman or not. Like, oh yeah, this guy's been doing this for a while. It's a sustained activity, right?
He's got the Navy play from last week. He's got the big breakout against Boston College, that 90-yard, where he's looking at the sidelines,
yes.
Slowing down, talking trash or whatever, like that's the kind of stuff you got to put out.
Yeah, like he's actually looking at the Notre Dame sideline, which is what
he's talking to his buddies.
He's yelling at the coach. Well, I don't know if you heard this, but like the running back coach said, Jeremiah Love, I don't think you can break a 90-yarder. And he's like, yeah, I can. And then the coach says, well, if you do, hit the Heisman. So he breaks it like right after that, and he's yelling at the coach, should I do the Heisman? Should I do the Heisman? So like that's the legend of the story, kind of how it comes together, which is hysterical because he comes in the end zone and he hits a little bit. He didn't hit it hard, but he hit a little bit of the Heisman. Like, yeah. So like, yeah, nice. So yeah, but those are the kind of things that like, it hits social media. It goes viral. There's a big post. I mean, I put a post on X for our account just to the run of the Navy, and it's 10,000 plus views in a couple of days. I mean, it's just, and we're not a big social media presence with, tons of followers. I mean, and, there's people talking about those clips, and, the much more the bigger sports personalities are getting clips and talking about him and getting viral. So yeah, he's in the conscious of the sports world. So I think this is a big weekend for him. So we want to see how many yards he can put up. I think the whole viral clip thing is only going to help his cause. Somebody's going to win the Heisman at some point, not because of gaudy stats, but just because of being viral, and he's a guy that can do it. And a name like Love, why not, right? Everybody loves Love.
Exactly.
So yeah. So other games this weekend, and I think we talked about this a little earlier. It was a much better conversation, so we'll see how Take Two goes. But there's some big games this weekend, and when you go into the college football playoff scenario, there's always been a little bit of a chaos theory thing that goes on. There's always been this like, and I always, during the BCS, I always prayed for chaos, and it always kind of it like I was wanting 6 teams to go undefeated and them have to figure it out, and it just worked itself out. The chaos went away, and there was upsets and things that happened, and it just the chaos happened during the season, and it didn't force the committee to have to make bad decisions or tough decisions. And I always go back to that 2011-2012 season where Notre Dame setting at 3 going into like, toward the end of the season. Next thing you know, Oregon loses, K-State loses, and it's Alabama, Notre Dame jump from 3-4 to 1-2, and we're in the BCS. Now,
right.
Again, in hindsight, I'm really wishing K-State would have pulled off that win because we could have played K-State for a national championship and won it, instead of playing the all-world Alabama team that I don't know how they lost a game earlier in the year. I still didn't go look that up. But, like, how did that team, which is – you think about all the good Nick Saban Alabama teams, and that may have been the best. I mean, just blows my mind. But so chaos always seems to happen, and I think there's kind of this thing, right? We've got Texas playing Georgia.
Yeah.
And you got Oklahoma playing Alabama.
Yeah.
And like Notre Dame has to beat Pitt. If we lose to Pitt, none of that's relevant to us, but there's chaos. But let's assume we beat Pitt close.
Right.
If Texas and Oklahoma find ways to win, they could jump us.
Absolutely.
Because, how does
because those are two quality, top five, top 6 wins. Yeah. And they're just behind us, in the rankings. So having those 2 wins, we'll see what how the committee treats them. But yeah, those would be 2 quality wins that they could easily jump Notre Dame.
Yeah, hard to argue. Like, I would be disappointed, but it'd be hard for me to argue that like Georgia, Alabama should fall behind us and those guys shouldn't jump ahead of us, right? I mean, I would love it to see us move up 2 spots and, get moved from 9 to 7, and then Georgia, Alabama fall behind us. And like, I would love it. I just don't see that happening. But yeah, so I think that's a potential chaos scenario this weekend that could occur. I think more likely you're going to see, and I thought about this. I said this earlier. I think Alabama and Georgia both win. I'm going to back off that statement as I thought about this, and since we're in take 2, I think there's a better chance of Texas beating Georgia. I don't see Alabama. I just can't see Alabama losing. So we're going to beat Pitt. Hopefully we beat Pitt we cover the spread. We get some style points. It's not an issue for us. And then if Alabama takes care of business the way I anticipate, no problem with Oklahoma, and Texas beats Georgia, could Georgia fall behind us?
I mean, potentially. Georgia's played with fire a little bit. I mean, I watched the Auburn game where they got a lot of help. And so bad that, like, one of the refs, I don't think he's reffing anymore.
Yeah.
But, they're a slow starter. So, and Texas has been getting better, not to try to compare them to like Notre Dame, but, they looked terrible against Ohio State at the beginning of the year. And then they followed up the next 2 games against, opponents that they should have blown out that they barely won by.
Yeah.
But then, and they lose to Florida, but then they beat some other good teams. So it's like they're maybe hitting their stride and playing better too.
I completely agree. I don't think that Texas is as good as Notre Dame. I would love to play Texas in the CFP if it worked out. I wouldn't concern me. I mean, it's a team I think we could beat. But yeah, I think Texas is obviously playing much better at the end of the season than they were at the beginning of the season. There's no doubt about that. They've improved. And, there was a lot of talk, a lot of distractions. Arch Manning's the next great Manning, and, he didn't come out hot and didn't play well, and, a lot of pressure on him, and I think he's kind of settled into that. And so, yeah, I can see Texas beating – I don't think Texas beats Georgia, but I could see that. And, of course, you guys both know, and Carter hates it when I say it, but I've been calling it. I think there's a shot at Michigan beating Ohio State, and I'm still going to stand on business and say I think Purdue – sneak up on IU. There's no reason Purdue should beat IU, and that's the reason Purdue beats IU, in my opinion. I think Cignetti is good at being the hunter. I'm not sure if he's going to be good at being the hunted. And Penn State gave him a scare.
Yeah.
And a Penn State that lost to UCLA, that doesn't have a coach, that had no business in that game. Not that Penn State doesn't have athletes, but I think Purdue's gotten a little better, and Purdue's played well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. And again, that's chaos scenario 101. If 1 and 2 and everybody's like saying, hey, they're on a collision course for the Big Ten championship, if they both lose the final weekend of the regular season, there's your chaos scenario, because now you've got Bama, you've got A&M 1 and 2, you probably have Georgia at 3. The SEC people are freaking excited, and then Ohio State falls 4. Oregon gets in there. Maybe Oregon jumps ahead of IU. It gets all kinds of chaos. All I know is we just got to get ourselves to a home game now. I think we should, if we take care of business, we should not have too much concern outside the craziness of both Georgia and Alabama losing this weekend. We shouldn't have too much concern about us being a home playoff team, or us being in the college football playoff. Now it's, can we move ourselves up to that home playoff game? Because that's a huge advantage. I mean, give me a Southern team has to come to Notre Dame, Indiana in the middle of December when it's going to be cold, potentially snowy, and that's leverage for us, right?
Yeah.
Bring Oregon.
And you guys know how raucous of an atmosphere it was last year. And it's only just going to be that much better,
And it's one of those things, like Notre Dame has always been kind of this staunchy wine and cheese crowd. No offense to the Notre Dame wine and cheese account on Twitter. He's not a wine and cheese guy. That's a parody. But there's always been kind of this like staunch, don't get too rowdy. And that has changed so much. And man, like that college football playoff game last year was electric. I mean, inject that into my veins. Give me that. Like it was, that was like drinking, 3 energy drinks, a cup of coffee, and, it was wired, man. It was something else. So yeah, huge advantage for us in that environment. I always go into my conspiracy theory here, I say first round games are on campus. CFP wants to make the most amount of money. They're going to figure out how to get the biggest stadiums into those games. So, Tennessee, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, like all the bigger stadiums. No one wants a first round game at Texas Tech.
No.
Like Texas Tech, I think the stadium seats 40,000. I don't know how big it is, but I've seen pictures of it. It just doesn't look like it's that big. So I just don't think people want first-round games at 40,000 person stadiums. They want them at 70, 80, 100,000 person stadiums because they're going to get $300 a ticket.
Yeah.
And I've done the math. $300 a ticket at 100,000 is a whole lot better than, $300 a ticket at, 50,000 kind of a thing. So, and, they got to pay the refs, the teams, and everything else. But I also got my tinfoil hat, and this is one thing that does scare me a little bit about the Pitt game is we're going to have ACC refs. And ACC refs are inconsistent at times. And can Notre Dame survive some less than desirable calls? Because if you're the ACC and you can get 2 teams into the college football playoffs, there's a whole lot more money to be had than if you have one. And so how do you get a second team in? Pitt could be that second team. I mean, if Pitt can beat Notre Dame, follow it up with a win over Miami, and a win over Georgia Tech, I mean, they could be your ACC champion plus Pitt could be your, those could be your 2 teams. So we'll see. But I'll get off that conspiracy theory for now. I'll keep my tinfoil hat off.
Well, that's what I'm waiting to see, because we always joke like we're getting the 5th best ACC, we're getting the bottom of the bottom when it comes to these refs. So are they gonna give us a decent crew? It'll be interesting to see how the officiating works this game.
I think they're going to have to give us a good crew. And part of it is going to be, one, this is a big game. This is a big game for Pitt. And they're going to want to put a better crew on there because even if I joke, I don't really believe the ACC is going to try and put refs in there and influence them to try and, cost us the game. I just think because whether it's Miami or Georgia, like A&M, like there were bad calls for and against us. Like it just went both ways. And even at Boston College, there were some bad calls against us, but there were some bad calls that were for us. I felt like it was a little more against us than for us at Boston College, but I'm also biased. I admit that. So I think we're going to have a better ref crew because they know that this is going to be a high profile game. There's been a lot of shots taken at referees this year. I mean, I still can't get over the one game like I saw where the pylon cam, the guy was in the end zone, and they still did give it a touchdown after. It's like, I get in the heat of the moment you get the call wrong, but when you got the benefit of slow motion replay and you still get it wrong, what the heck? Yeah. So I think we'll get a better reffing crew. And I actually see somebody post this. I don't know if you saw the IU comeback against Penn State or the highlights of that.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
But I actually seen someone shoot out a shot like, hey, you got to give the referee that was like the back judge a lot of credit because he called a hell of a good call in real time that stood up under review. Because when I first saw the review, I thought, oh, he didn't score. And then I saw a second time, I'm like, oh my God, he got 2 feet. That's a Sunday score. That's not just a Saturday score. That's a Sunday score. So shout out to that referee because he did a great job in real time getting it right. So, and that's not an easy job. I mean, you're making boom, boom, boom decisions. So, Yeah, I think we'll get a better referee crew. I don't expect to see the egregious, terrible calls,
Yeah.
But I'm optimistic. I'm always optimistic. Even though I criticize the refs, I still give them my my optimism. So, all right. So,
Yeah.
anything else in regards to just general college football playoff?
I mean, so I've been looking at, kind of looking ahead after we were speaking earlier. We got USC, Iowa, and we think USC, because I believe I was looking, they got Iowa this week, and I believe they still have Oregon to play as well. So that'll be interesting if USC can run the table and beat Oregon, which that helps Notre Dame in two ways. One, beating USC, getting a better strength of schedule from that, and knocking Oregon down. So that's one thing I've been looking for. And then also, I was joking with you guys about Ole Miss playing Florida, so looking at these teams ahead of us, like, is there any way that Florida can somehow finagle a win to get in Lane's head to pull one off here and knock Ole Miss down too? Because that would really help.
Yeah, I mean, we joked about this earlier. Did Lane Kiffin get a call from his new boss, the athletic director at Florida, and say, "Hey, there's an extra zero in that check if you guys give us a win this weekend.
Just give us a dub." Yeah.
Because, if you lose now, Lane, you could kind of quit and come over here and get on the payroll earlier. I mean,
start recruiting,
right?
Yeah.
Bring over your guys from Ole Miss, right? Call up Deuce Knight, tell him to hop on the next train to Gainesville. It's beautiful down here. Come to the cocktail party. But I think that distraction, and it's interesting because the way Lane Kiffin has approached that, he hasn't just killed it. And there's always that thing, right? There's people that just kill those rumors instantly, and you're like, oh, they killed it too fast. And there's people that don't kill them at all, and you're like, well, that's a bad sign. Like the whole Lincoln Riley conversation, and someone showed a clip right before he went to USC where he's like, well, you guys know what I've sacrificed to be here, at Oklahoma. And the next thing you know, he's like, almost,
he's on a plane.
Almost the same language he's using it. Like, you know what I've sacrificed to be here at USC? And it's like, wait a minute, where are you going? And so, Lane hasn't closed that door. Now, I could see Lane not closing that door simply because he doesn't want to leave Oklahoma and Ole Miss, and he wants to give his agent some leverage to get a contract, right? And I think it's interesting because Marcus Freeman shut it down pretty quick, and he says, I'm not even going to talk about it because my name comes up for every freaking job. I'm not going to talk about it with the team or anybody else unless there's something to talk about. And there's nothing to talk about. So, he's kind of killed it, but not in a way that makes you say, oh, man, he's gone.
Right.
But also not in a way to make you think, well, wait a minute, he's entertaining it. And I hope his agent is doing whatever he needs to do to make sure Marcus is getting paid. And I can't believe Pete Bavakawa is not making sure that Marcus is paid, because I've said it before, there's only one school that scares me, and that's that scenario where Michigan somehow beats Ohio State this year. And I think Michigan's good enough to do it again. And Dave Portnoy, in a way, is going to be annoying as hell if that happens.
Yeah.
I like his one bite pizza reviews, but his pro Michigan talk will get to me. But yeah, I could see if Ryan Day loses to Michigan again, despite he came off the national championship, because last year I think he was one loss of the CFP away from I don't know if they lost the CFP last year. Notre Dame would have beat them in the national championship game. I don't know if Ryan Day would have been back at Ohio State. I really felt like he had to win the national championship to get another year. So losing to
which
Michigan,
is just crazy. But
but losing to Michigan at Ohio State is that's a cardinal sin. It's kissing your sister. You can't do that. It's just wrong. So I just think that's kind of the fragileness of that. And that's the one place, if Marcus Freeman were going to leave Notre Dame for anywhere, it's the NFL or it's going to be Ohio State if he were going to leave. And I don't want him to leave. So pay him whatever you want to pay him, because he's won more freaking major bowl games in the last year than what we won the last 12. So I like the guy. I like everything about Marcus Freeman. I like his approach. I like his swagger. I like his just embracing the university. So pay him, keep him here, right? I mean, today's world, pay him, keep him. Do what we got to do, and let's just hope part of me wants Ohio State to beat Michigan, and the other part of me wants to see Michigan create the chaos series. So
I know I thought about that earlier too, because I'm like, now I want chaos because I want to see what the committee does.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier where it was about what kind of scenarios would put them in a tough situation. You know, when you got a lot of 2-loss SEC teams, you know, you got still some Power 5 potentially conference champions that are on the outside looking in. And, you know, I thought when the rankings came out that Notre Dame was going to be 13 and 14, and they were going to, as long as they win and then let some losses ahead of them, some chaos, allow them to move into the playoff. And the fact that they started in was like, okay, you know, here we are, we're in the driver's seat, and now it's all just upside from here so far.
Yeah, 9, we control our destiny. As long as we win, we should be okay. So yeah, I'm with you, and that's exciting. But I also think about this, you know, again, I put my tinfoil hat on. The College Football Playoff Committee maybe itself doesn't care, but the College Football Playoff Organization does. And they want to go from 12 to 16 to 24 to 72 to, you know, whatever they can expand it to, right? So nothing better for that than to having the chaos and the absurdity of teams that they feel should be in being left out, right? So that's the argument for putting Notre Dame in, because, you know, we like to say from our perspective, half the world's for you, half is against you. The reality is it's 25-75, right? Maybe 25% of the world is okay with Notre Dame. 75% of the world hates you. That's why you go on social media, whatever, you bash Notre Dame, and you get Ohio State and Michigan fans to agree on the one thing they agree on, we suck, right? Or whatever it is, right? So if you put a Notre Dame team in, you're going to alienate another team or 2 or 3, and you're going to have SEC, Big Ten people screaming, ACC people screaming, and it's going to make it easier to make that leverage to get ourselves to the 16-team playoff, right? Or the 24-team playoff, or whatever number they're trying to get to. And I think the other thing is, you know, people have found, I think after last year, like the home playoff games were electric. So we're not going to add more bowl games. We're going to keep the bowl games the way they are. We're just going to add more games on campuses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's awesome. Everybody, fans win. Like if you're going to expand it to 16 or 24 teams or whatever they're going to end up at, give me more home games at least. At least give me more home games. And I'm excited about that aspect. So I could see like the chaos really being, now you're going to keep a Georgia out, or you're going to keep an Oregon out, or you're going to keep a Michigan out, or somebody like a USC out that's going to have enough of a poll that the people are going to say, well, that's wrong. Like, let's just say Miami wins out. You know, and Miami's like, well, we beat Notre Dame. Well, you lost to Louisville. You know, well, if the argument holds, because somehow Louisville beats Miami beats Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's ranked highest, Miami's second, and Louisville's even after beating Miami, Louisville's still behind them. Like, what?
Yeah.
At least Miami jumped us after they beat us, and then they fell, you know. But, like, in the argument there, it should be Louisville, Miami, Notre Dame in that order is like the logic if you apply the head-to-head win. So,
yeah.
So now there's a whole bunch of arguments.
The transitive properties end up just falling apart.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So that's why we need to beat Pitt, and then we need Pitt to turn around and beat Miami so we can just say, okay, we weren't great early, but look at the end of the season, and now we got this common opponent 1 week apart. Look how we performed. Much better than they did, that kind of a thing. So, yeah, I think there's some chaos theory potentially out there. It's going to work out in a way that there's not going to be chaos for the committee. There's just going to be chaos that's going to settle things for the committee where they don't have to make hard choices. That just seems the way it always goes. But I do want to see the committee have to be put in those hard choice positions. I always just want to see, like, how are they going to manage that? How would I manage? I don't think it's easy. Like, you know, you got to put your bias aside. You got to look at the numbers. You got to figure it out. Strength of record, strength of schedule, you know, head to head. How are they playing lately? And, you know, I'd love to get paid to sit in a room and watch a bunch of football and give people my opinion, but I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
It's like being a head football coach. I always said, I want to be so good at my job, people will pay me a ridiculous amount of money, but not so good they won't ask me to quit 10 years early and still pay me the money. Like that's kind of where you want to be. That I don't have to sue them for $53 million like Brian Kelly does, but I want to be just good enough that they'll pay me $53 million to go away. I'll go Ed Orgeron, right?
Exactly.
Show me the door and what time you want me to leave. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've done a good job on take 2, so I'll call it there. Appreciate you jumping on, getting to be with us. It's good to have you on anytime you can. Talk ball.
Thanks for having me.
It's always fun. Sorry, Carter, we missed you. Hope you enjoyed the podcast as a listener, not a content provider this time. So
exactly. Get your total Jeremiah Love predictions in. So
let's go. All right. Hey.
All right.
Thanks, Jordan. As always, go Irish.
Go Irish.